Hello and welcome to Broadsword Wargaming. In this video, I'm going to be doing a faction focus on Space Marines for Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team.
The Adeptus Astartes are the greatest and finest of the Emperor's warriors. They are the bulwark against terror and the defenders of humanity. They are the Space Marines, and they shall know no fear.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, please do click that subscribe button for more videos to come, because this video is a biggie. It's Space Marines. Now, I've done a fair few faction-focused videos already, but I've deliberately put this one off as long as I can, but I'm finally ready. There's so much to say about Space Marines, and they have evolved a lot since the start of Kill Team with Elites, the FAQs, the Annual, but they've settled down now, bar a few things, and I feel like I'm ready to give this information to you. A special thanks to Joel Freeman, the organizer of Rampage over in England, a great Kill Team tournament. Do check that out. He has been really helpful. I spoke to a few other YouTubers and people as well about this, and I finally feel like I've got all the information from across the web, the dark web, the YouTube web, and I'm going to pass this on to you now. So let's take a look. Why play Space Marines? Also known as the Adeptus Astartes, these are the Imperium's finest soldiers. They are genetically modified superhumans made by the hands of the Emperor himself to battle the Xenos, Chaos, and demons around the Imperium. If that sounds good to you, and you like killing people with a bolter and surviving out in space in the void for days on end without food or sleep, then this is probably the faction for you. Pros. The sheer versatility of Space Marines alone makes them a great choice for any player. With easy access to 2 wound models, you have transhuman physiology, which allows you to ignore the first flesh wound in regards to hit modifiers. These are a great choice for a new player or an experienced player alike. Perfect and an all-round list for everybody. And finally, they have reliable morale. With leadership 8 on your sergeants and a reroll for And They Shall Know No Fear, these guys don't break easily, as you'd expect from the Emperor's finest. Cons. As a list that does really well in general, you aren't particularly specialised for combat or for shooting. Now, this can be changed depending on the roster you take, but against a dedicated combat force or a dedicated shooting force, you might struggle to take them down. You can't compete with the best, but you are a true jack of all trades. And despite being a truly versatile faction, you don't actually get access to loads of heavy or special gunners. And of course, you're not going to have the most models in Kill Team. Again, it is down to how you build your roster, but they are relatively expensive points-wise. Special abilities. Now, this might take us a while, as there are quite a lot of Space Marine faction-specific abilities, along with different dedicated tactical cards. So bear with me to go this, but I'm going to go through all of those faction abilities, starting with Imperial Fists. The Imperial Fists gain Siege Masters. This means your models do not suffer the penalty to the injury roll for a target being obscured or within 1 inch of a model or terrain. The Dark Angels gain Grim Resolve. This allows them to reroll unmodified hit rolls of 1 if your model has not moved. And you also get a reroll to see if your faction has broken. White Scars get Lightning Assault. This means they add 2 inches to advance rolls, and if they started their turn within 1 inch of another model, and that model is no longer there, they can still make a charge move. Space Wolves get Hunters Unleashed. This means they add 1 to their hit rolls if they were charged, they charged, or performed a heroic intervention. They can also use heroic intervention on their leader if they're within 6 inches rather than just 3. Blood Angels, as you'd expect, gain Red Thirst. This means they add 1 to wound rolls if they charged, were charged, or performed a heroic intervention. Iron Hands gain Flesh is Weak, meaning when they lose a wound, on a roll of a 6, they don't suffer the wound. Kind of like a Feel No Pain. Ultramarines get Codex Disciplined. This means they can add 1 to their leadership, and they can fire if they fell back or retreated, but they do need a 6 to hit, rather like Overwatch. Salamanders gain Master Artisans, meaning they can reroll a single failed hit roll and a wound roll per phase. Raven Guard get Shadow Masters, meaning they count as obscured as long as they're 12 inches away from the enemy. And finally, Black Templars gain Righteous Zeal, meaning they can reroll failed charge rolls. That is all of the chapter abilities condensed down there for you to listen to. How do you feel about those? I think there's certainly some stronger ones and some weaker ones, with Salamanders being possibly the best mixed faction ability. If you've got a bit of shooting, a bit of combat, you can reroll up to 6 dice per turn without using a CP. Really good, as you've got some great strategies and tactics you want to use. Space Wolves or Blood Angels might be the best for a full melee-orientated army, but Space Wolves can't take Vanguard Veterans, and a Vanguard Veteran with a Relic Blade is probably the best combat character we have. The Dark Angel's ability is quite handy. Getting that reroll of 1s to hit when you're standing still is good, particularly for plasma spam, which we all know Dark Angels love. But the only issue is you have to stay still to use it, and that does limit your mobility. Unfortunately, there are some really weak ones there. The Raven Guard one isn't great, as Kill Team is kind of a small board. Staying outside of 12 inches is quite difficult to do. And the Ultramarines one, yes, having +1 leadership is great, and being able to shoot when you fall back, but only hitting on a 6 does make that a bit useless. And do Space Marines really need +1 leadership with And They Shall Know No Fear and a high leadership anyway? Probably not. Space Marines, like all factions, have access to their own tactics as well, and they have some particularly good ones. And I'll give you the best couple that I find are the most useful. The first one would be Death Denied. For 3 CP instead of 2 CP, which it was previously, if a model of yours is taken out of action, you can play this, and instead of dying, he just receives a flesh wound. Perfect for saving those big point models or those characters that you don't want to die. Another good ability is Adaptive Strategy. This one you can play once your kill team is broken. It costs 1 CP, and for this you gain D3 CP. So kind of a free roll, because you can't get any worse than 1, but you can gain more CP. Great if your leader's dead or you're broken and you need to stay around a little bit longer. Another good tactic is Battle Brothers. For 1 CP, you can use this if a model of yours that is not shaken fails a saving throw. If they have another model within 3 inches that is also not shaken, they take the damage and wounds instead. So if you hit with a 3 damage weapon, you fail your saves, you can then transfer this for 1 CP to another model, and they take that many dice rolls for damage and injury instead. The mortal wounds can probably kill you, but might save a bigger, better model from dying. Those are some of the best abilities and strategies. I think Salamanders are the best overall. You can make great use of some of these, particularly saving those CPs when you want those rerolls, because they allow you to use things like Death Denied a bit earlier on in the game. A standard kill team roster. This is the point, I feel, where I could go on forever about all the different builds you can take and some of the things that have been changed in FAQs like intercessors and auspexes, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give you my top 5 builds for a general kill team for Space Marines. A tactical gunner with a plasma gun for 16 points. Make him your sniper, always going to come in helpful. That ability to reroll the unmodified 1s is priceless, and I put this in pretty much every single kill team that can take a plasma gun. Another would be a Vanguard Sergeant with a Relic Blade and a Chainsword. You can get extra attacks from the Chainsword, and the Relic Blade will get work done. For 17 points, I can't deny that this is possibly our best combat unit. As I said, Space Wolves don't get access to it, but all other factions do. A Stern Guard Sergeant with special issue bolt guns, an Auspex, and 2 chainswords for 16 points is a really versatile model, getting loads of attacks in combat and can do some damage with that bolt gun too. A Scout Gunner with a missile launcher. Scouts are awesome in kill team. The camo cloaks are really good. Either give them bolt guns or shotguns if you want to get close up. The missile launchers are great and you can take 2 of these. And finally, a Tactical Sergeant with a Combi Plasma. Again, Plasma's great. We can only get it in a few different places if you don't want the missile launchers and stuff like that. So do take one of these. Sergeants are awesome. Most of these models are only limited to 1 or 2, whether that's gunners or most sergeants, you can only have 1 of as well. So do take that into account when you're making your models. There's been some controversy recently over a couple of different models. The Intercessor with an Auspex. Auspex are great, but this was FAQ'd and then changed again, I think, in the Kill Team manual to say you can't take an Auspex. This has caused some controversy. I would say most tournament organizers and most players would say you can do this, but other people say you can't. As written, you cannot. For leaders, you can take an Eliminator Sergeant. This will keep him out of the way to get that CP, and he can still get some work done and do some damage, which is very effective. Scout Sergeants, a lot of people take the leader and keep them at the back. You want to be using these for cheap or make them particularly good, but the better you make them, the higher priority target they are, the more likely they are to die, so do try and keep them protected with things like Battle Brother or Death Denied. Well, there you have it. That is Space Marines done and dusted. As I said, I've been putting that off for quite a while because it's quite a daunting faction to do. With so many models and so many different build possibilities and so many faction abilities, I was putting that off for quite a while, but thanks again to Joel Freeman for all his help and advice and a few other guys as well. Yeah, I feel like I've covered quite well. There are lots of other builds that I've not mentioned, things like jump packs with double plasma pistols. They're really, really good. One other thing I forgot to mention about Space Marines that makes them quite handy is you can do a pretty good kill team with just a tactical squad box. So relatively cheap. Get some conversions or buy yourself a box of Vanguards or Stern Guards as well, maybe some Scouts. But with one box, you can have a decent kill team. Scouts makes for a very good kill team. If you've liked this video and you found it useful, please do remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit the alarm bell below for more videos to come. Do check out about supporting the channel. I've got some links there to Element Games where you can buy these very models from. There's some Amazon Associate stuff down there. There's the GEEK Gaming things with the Luke's APS stuff. That is great for basing on your miniatures and making them look nice and tidy. And finally, there's my Patreon. Without you guys, my patrons, I can't keep doing these videos. I've only got a few so far. There's about 10 of you now at this point. So hopefully that will grow. As it does, I can do more battle reports and more videos and try and do 2 videos a week and keep this production value up. So thanks to all my patrons. Yeah, that's it from me. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you in another video.